Okay, so I just watched one crypto coin defy gravity while everything else was just snoozing. No, seriously, right? The whole market was asleep except for this one thing going absolutely bonkers. And the wildest part? The reason behind it left me absolutely speechless. So, picture this, right? I'm sipping on my coffee, scrolling through the usual crypto charts, expecting just another boring day. Bitcoin's flat, Ethereum's meh, everything's kind of just blah. Right? But then I see Chainlink. This bad boy is not just up, it's way up, right? And I'm talking a good surge to $26 when most other coins can barely even lift their heads. And I'm like, wait, what is going on? Chainlink is doing its own thing, partying while the rest of the markets hung over. I had to know just why, right? Because if there's one thing that keeps me up at night in the crypto space is that and at least in a good way, is that it's when a coin breaks all of the patterns. And let me tell you the story, right? I uncovered behind this Link rally. You're just not going to want to step away. You're going to want to hear this, right? It's got everything. It's got whales, it's got Wall Street giants, a social media storm, basically a crypto thriller here. So by the end of this, you might see Chainlink in a whole new light, just like I did. All right. So let's just rewind a little tiny bit. At first, I shrugged off Chainlink's little pump. I've seen random altcoins pump for no reason before. A whale sneezes or some kind of TikTok rumor and boom, 20% up. So I figured maybe that's what was happening here. I even almost kind of just scrolled on past it. Contrarian in me was like, nah, it's probably nothing. But you don't FOMO in, bro, right? But hour after hour, Link just kept on climbing, refusing to chill. Meanwhile, of course, Bitcoin's just sitting there like a statue. So now I'm intrigued, right? This isn't your run-of-the-mill kind of pump and dump then. Something's different. My inner detective kicks on in. The first clue, right? The price action itself. Chainlink didn't just have a little green day. It blasted up to over 30% in a month. And on August 18th, it hit around $26, the highest in 7 months. 7 months, right? So imagine being asleep since January and waking up now. Link hasn't been this high since then, right? And get this, on that day, it was the only top 15 cryptocurrency in the green. The only one, right? Everything else was, at least in the top 15, was either flat or down. And Chainlink is just over here throwing its rooftop party all by itself. Now that's a huge kind of red flag, or rather a green flag in this case. That's something, real might actually be behind it. Now coins, they don't just decouple like that for no reason. So I start digging around and almost immediately struck a whale. Not gold, whales, right? Crypto whales to be exact. Those mega rich holders with wallets so large that they could sink a ship, if crypto were physical, that is. Now, these guys can single-handedly move the markets, and it turns out that they've been busy with Chainlink. I mean, I found out that large holders have been yanking millions of links off of the exchanges, right? One report caught my eye and it said that one wallet withdrew 1.29 million link from Binance over just 4 days. That's like $31 million worth at the time. It was gone from the exchange into cold storage or wherever. Now whales, they keep their treasure, right? And it wasn't just one off either. There were multiple big withdrawals just like that one. Now, why does that really matter? Well, here's a quick kind of 101. When whales pull coins off of exchanges, usually it means that one thing is happening here. They're accumulating. They're not looking to sell anytime soon. Like, think about it as if you want to kind of plan at least if you were to plan a dump, a bunch of coins on the market, you would keep them on the exchange for easy access, right? But if you're kind of tucking them away, it's kind of like putting the candy on the top shelf where no one can even reach them. Well, you're saving it for later, and it creates a sort of supply crunch. Fewer coins available on the exchanges can drive the price up higher. Now, it also sends a bit of a signal, like, hey, we're confident, we're holding. When I saw that, my eyebrows went way up. right? Whales usually have some kind of thesis or insider view. Maybe they know something that the rest of us don't, or they just believe strongly in Chainlink's future. Now, either way, step one of the kind of mystery here is that whales are quietly loading up. Next, I check out what traders are actually doing here. Not just spot buying, but the big leagues as well, derivatives. Now, if whales are the long-term holders, traders are the kind of adrenaline junkies betting on the price swings. Now, I pull up some charts, some data, and holy moly, right? Open interest in Chainlink futures has hit a record high of about $1.5 billion. Open interest is basically how much money people have put down on futures contracts for Link. Now that's nearly 60% higher than it was in January. That is a lot of people betting on Chainlink, one way or the other. So picture a horse race then, at least a racing track, suddenly filling up with high rollers, all betting on this underdog horse named Link. Well, the more bets on the table, the more serious people are. High open interest often means traders are expecting a big move. Now they're putting their money where their mouth is, and from the looks of it, they were betting on up. So around the kind of same time as the price spike. So open interest was climbing. So traders were like, there's action coming and we want in. Now this isn't typical for a random kind of mid-sized altcoin, by the way, unless of course there's conviction behind it. So now I've got whales hoarding and I've got traders betting big. Now that alone is pretty powerful combination, right? Kind of like having maybe both the rich insiders and the crowd at the poker table all bullish on the same hand. No wonder that Link's price was pushing up. Now indeed, right, around that time, Link also jumped something like 6% in just in 24 hours, right? Even spiking as high as 12% during the week. It's as if all of that behind the scenes kind of momentum burst out into the open price. But wait, as those late night infomercials say, there's more, right? Price is one thing, but I also wanted to see if people were actually using it. At least using Chainlink, or if there was, just speculative mania going on here. So I checked the on-chain activity, basically what's happening on the Chainlink network itself, and guess what? The Chainlink blockchain was buzzing like I have never seen it in a long time. On August 17th, around 9,813 addresses, nearly 10,000 moved Link in a single day. That's transfers, trades, whatever on-chain moves meant. Right now, the very next day, over 9,600 new wallet addresses were created for Chainlink. So let's think about that, right? Almost 10,000 new wallets popping up in a single day. Now for context, that was the busiest that Chainlink's network has been all year. It kind of was like one day everyone just decided to show up to the party. Now I'll put it this way, if Chainlink were throwing a kind of concert, that week it's kind of sold out and had to open the overflow parking, right? New people arrived, old hands moving stuff around. It was kind of a flurry of kind of activity. Now this told me that the rally actually had some kind of depth to it. It wasn't just one kind of fat cat whale kind of moving things with a joystick. There were thousands of participants, new and old. Now that kind of broad network activity often coincides with genuine FOMO or onboarding, like people hearing the hype and actually going out to buy some Link, hence new wallets. Now by now, I'm kind of sitting up straight in my kind of chair, whales are traders, on-chain activity boom. This is the trifecta. It's the kind of thing that you would see at the start of a rather big move, historically anyway. But I still needed to know why now, right? What's the kind of catalyst here? What changed for Chainlink fundamentally that actually makes everyone suddenly so bullish on it? Because Chainlink's been around for a while. It's a top project known for its kind of Oracle services. It's not like it's just launched a meme coin or something just equally as shit. So what's new here? Well, it's time to look at the real world news then and fundamentals. And boy, did I find some nuggets. Over the past few weeks, Chainlink has been making moves, not just in crypto circles, but in the halls of traditional finance. Now this part kind of got me really excited. So you know how Chainlink is all about oracles, right? Basically feeding real world data to blockchains, right? Blockchain smart contracts. Well, it turns out that big institutions have noticed, right? There's word that more than 30 major financial institutions are either kind of testing or entering and experimenting with, or maybe already using Chainlink's tech in some sort of way. Now we're talking the likes of Swift, Visa, MasterCard, Citibank, JP Morgan, BNY Mellon, Fidelity. I'm reading this list like it's the Fortune 500 roll call, not a kind of mentioned infrastructure kind of players like Interconnectica Exchange, right, which owns the New York Stock Exchange, right? Plus, of course, the Euroclear, Clearstream, and even some central banks. My reaction is, wait, what am I still talking about? A crypto project here. This sounds more like a summit of global finance. And then it hit me right there that Chainlink has quietly become a rather big deal in connecting decentralized finance with traditional finance. Essentially, if DeFi is a bunch of blockchains needing reliable data and connections to real-world systems, well, Chainlink is this trustless bridge or interpreter. And now, right, the biggest names in finance are actually testing that bridge. So picture a fancy kind of ballroom where all of the bankers and crypto nerds are finally all dancing together. Chainlink is the DJ playing in the kind of, at least playing the music that they actually both kind of groove to. And honestly, right, I saw that Visa and Swift were in the same sentence, and Chainlink, at least as Chainlink, and my jaw of course did drop here. Like this is even the same kind of crypto that a few years ago people only talked about for price feeds on Ethereum. And speaking of feeds, of course, here's another huge development. Chainlink recently partnered with ICE. Now, ICE runs major traditional markets, and through this partnership, they've actually been bridging real-time currency and precious metal prices from over 300 markets onto the blockchains. That's massive. It means that if you're a smart contract that needs, let's say, the latest USD to Euro exchange rate or the price of gold, Chainlink can now provide that data directly from the guys who basically run those markets. It's kind of like tapping into the Wall Street of, fire hose of data and feeding it into crypto. Now, for a DeFi nerd like me, that's goosebumps, right? Territory anyway. It kind of bridges a gap that we've had for a very long time. And I realized that this kind of news might not be sexy on the surface for a casual investor, but for serious people, the whales, the institutions, this is huge. It makes Chainlink's technology undeniably valuable. So at this point, the mystery was kind of less, why is Chainlink pumping, and more, how did I not see this coming? Which actually isn't a question I would ask, because we did see this coming. We saw this coming for years, and if you're in the Discord server, you would know. Anyway, right, there's a reason that there's a lot of accumulating happening here, and institutions, traders probably even caught wind of the rest of the real world kind of finance kind of pilots, so they're also positioning in on futures and options as well. And regular people who are in our Discord server, are also well aware or already dollar cost averaged into Chainlink during 2022. At least I know I did, along with Chris and many others. So there's a lot of kind of stuff going on here, right? A lot of people have jumped on the old bandwagon, hence the social media buzz and all of the new wallets. It's kind of like a perfect storm is brewed here, but one that's been quietly brewing rather than actually suddenly kind of just there. Now, let's talk about that kind of social buzz for a second here, because it kind of felt a little kind of personal for us, because we've been into Chainlink for such a long time. It's good to see everyone else finally catching up, right? A lot of influencers were kind of really negative on Chainlink during kind of 2022 and 2023, not really seeing its potential. But Chris and myself and the rest of the Cheeky crew, well, we've been into Chainlink since the very early days. I think 2020, 2021, we've been really into Chainlink. And so to see the social media finally catching up with us, it's kind of like a validation for everything that we've been doing and talking about here. And of course, amidst all of this frenzy, here I am, I'm kind of torn, I guess. On one hand, I've got the rational side of me, which thinks, okay, I've been burned before, do I want to add even more link to my portfolio? It's a nice position at the minute. And on the other hand, I'm well positioned anyway, I don't really need to FOMO in because I had all this time during the bear market to be accumulating. So yeah, it's all looking pretty good. But I will be honest, I almost kind of hit the buy button anyway just to get a little bit extra using the Kraken Pro, which of course Kraken Pro is my go-to exchange at the minute. I use it for pretty much most of my trades. Now, I do have an affiliate link for Kraken Pro, it's down in the description below. And if you do use that, it then does actually support the channel here at no extra cost to yourself. You sign up and trade on it, that is. There's no pressure, of course, you've got to use whatever exchange that you ultimately are comfortable with. So yeah, I think Chainlink has been doing some pretty wonderful things. So here's kind of where I needed to kind of drop something rather important, just so that we're all on the same page and that I don't lead anyone astray here. And this one might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all of the money that you invest. It's important that you do all your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. All right, we had to get that out of the way. You know how it goes, you know the drill by this point. So let's get back to where we were. After all of this information that I've gathered and all this intel, the whales, the traders, the on-chain stats, the Wall Street, the connections, I step back and I think to myself, what's the big picture here? Why does this Chainlink rally feel so different? Well, it actually dawns on me that we might actually be witnessing Chainlink coming of age moment, right? Like this could be the point historians look back and say, yeah, that's when Chainlink went from being just another crypto project to being a critical piece of financial infrastructure. And I know that sounds kind of grandiose, but hear me out. Chainlink's always been respected technically, right? It's the kind of go-to oracle, it's the oracle king, if you will, but price-wise, it's had a bit of ups and downs, right? What's happening now is a, I guess, convergence of real utility and market recognition, and that's potential right there. It's kind of like when a startup finally is starting to turn a profit and Wall Street wakes up to it, right? Now, I hopped back into our Discord server after doing all of this research, and I told the gang what I found. The reactions ranged from Chainlink to the moon, baby, to cautious takes like careful, these whales might dump on you eventually. But for the most part, I think it's great to have that community there to kind of gauge the sentiment, see where people sit and all that kind of stuff. But with, something that did stick with me was that someone said that Chainlink's becoming too connected to fail, right? Or is too connected to fail, is kind of what they were saying. They kind of play on that old too big to fail kind of line. I chuckled, but it's a nugget of truth to it, right? When you have half the kind of financial institutions testing your network, you're kind of weaving yourself into the fabric of the system. That can potentially, give a project resilience and longevity that many other projects in the space simply don't have. So guys, I think that's going to wrap up this little quick dive on Chainlink. So if you have found it useful and informative, make sure to smash that like button, and I will catch you all in the next one.